Okay, I think it's right about 2 o'clock. I think we're good to go ahead and get started. Before we do get started, I just wanted to mention that we do ask that if you want to get the PD credit for today's session, please use the chat over on the right-hand side of the screen if you're on YouTube, or we are also streaming on Periscope. So if you're watching on that feed, just send a chat through there. For us, it all comes into one nice list, so I can get your attendance from either. So with that said, I do want to just kind of switch what you're seeing here, so bear with me a second. All right, so today's session is this afternoon. We're going to be talking about Google Meet, specifically how to reach your students using Google Meet, with a lot of teachers now shifting their focus to working remotely with students. We wanted to give access to some information specific to that tool because it really works well in this type of setting. That said, I do want to do a quick overview for the webinars for the rest of this week. Tomorrow morning, we're going to be talking about smart learning solutions for online teaching. That's going to be Mark Cuss from the Model Schools team. In the afternoon, we have Allison Blackwell, who will be presenting on Jamboard. It's a Google product. It's like an interactive, basically whiteboard, digital whiteboard that you can have students work collaboratively in. And that's part of the G Suite set of tools as well. On Thursday, we have tools for creating instructional videos. So here we're going to be showing you how to create, not necessarily like this live stream, but more pre-recording videos and how to get that to your students in a variety of different ways. In the afternoon on Thursday, we have Freckle Learning. So if your school uses Freckle, this will be a great session hosted by Mark Cuss again, where he's going to go over some of the tools that are in that platform. And then finally, to wrap things up on Friday in the morning, we have top 10 Google tips to save your sanity. So as you start to transition to working with students in more of an asynchronous or online setting, some of these tips might actually help save you some time and some mental stress, hopefully. And then finally, Friday afternoon, we have another live Q&A session where MORIC Model Schools team members will be available to answer any questions you may have. So feel free to join us. You can use the chat just like you're doing attendance to enter any questions you might have. And we will also try and bring a couple of some of the common questions that we're seeing coming into our team and bring those into that conversation and share some of that information with you as well. So with that said, let's kind of transfer over to talk about Google Meet specifically. So Google Meet is Google's basically video conferencing solution. So with Google Meet, you can have multiple people connect in a video-based call, similar to something like WebEx or Zoom, where you can not only have the video and the audio connection, but you can also present information, share your screen, similarly to what I'm doing here in this stream. You can also access Google Meet from the website meet.google.com. Or if you are in a different Google app, like Google Drive, for example, you can always just click on the waffle or the app launcher. So let me just pull that up. Let me go out to Drive here. So if you're in any other Google app, you can just click up here in the corner on your app launcher or your waffle. And if your organization has enabled Google Meet, it's an option right in that menu. You can also receive a Google Calendar invitation. So if someone creates, and we'll go over this later, a Google Calendar event, there's an option right within the event creator where they can select for it to automatically generate a Google Meet right within the event. And then anybody that's invited into that Google Calendar event will get that Meet link right within Google Calendar. You can also get the link to the Meet sent to you in an email. It could be put into Google Classroom. So there's a variety of different ways to access Google Meet. Some of the features that we didn't really talk about yet is that it does work across multiple devices. So if your students don't have access to a laptop or a desktop at home, they could use a mobile device. Any phone can download the Google Meet app from, the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, and you can access Meet on your mobile device, whether you have Wi-Fi or a cellular connection. There's also a phone call-in option. So if students don't have the ability to call in using a video-based device, they can call in and at least join the audio portion of the call so they can hear what's going on. Some features that Google has rolled out that are going to be ending July 1st, unfortunately, but these are kind of a response to this shift to more online learning that schools are facing currently. They have upped the participant limit from 100 to 250 participants per Google Meet session. I can't imagine being in one that had that many people. That'd be kind of crazy. But you also currently have, if your organization turns this feature on, the ability to record a Google Meet session. Now, as a teacher, I would love this feature because this Google Meet recording stores itself directly into your Google Drive. So when you do your first recording in Google Drive, your drive automatically creates a Google Meet folder, and it puts all those recordings right in there, and they're all date and time stamped for you so you know when the calls were and when you had them. And then finally, this is more for like district level, not necessarily for the classroom, but you can live stream an event. The difference between a regular Meet call and a live stream is that a Meet call is more of like an interactive call where multiple people can speak and they can present their screen and things like that. Whereas a live stream is more like what we're doing here, where I'm presenting and I'm showing my screen, but no one else has rights to speak or to share their screen within the call. So that would be more of a live stream. Might work really well for, let's say, a principal needs to have a faculty meeting, or superintendent wants to get all the faculty onto a call. The live stream option might work really well for that. So how do we create a Google Meet session to get our students into a call so we can touch base with them? So the first way is, this is a screenshot of if you go to Google Calendar and you create a Google Meet or a Google Calendar event, there is a drop down about halfway down in the settings where before it says Hangouts Meet here, it says Add Conferencing. And I'll show you this live in just a second. Once you select that, you can select the Hangouts Meet option. And now when I save this event, it's automatically going to generate a Google Meet session. And anybody that I put over here on the right side as a guest will get a calendar invitation in Google Calendar. And they'll also get within that invitation the information they need to join the Google Meet video call. So that's a really handy, simple, easy way to take those sessions. And that's just the power of all the Google tools being so interoperable now. The fact that you can create something in one and it affects another tool is really handy. The other option is to just go out to the website, meet.google.com, and you can create a meeting on the fly. So you'll see here on my screen that I'm showing. Get my mouse over there. Sorry, I'm working on two monitors, so it gets tricky sometimes. In my window here, I can join or start a meeting. This would be like an ad hoc meeting that really quickly, let's say I was trying to text with a colleague about something we're trying to roll out with our students, but it's just not, it's not something I want to keep texting. It's a little too much to just text. I want to have a video call. I can just go to meet.google.com and click right here, and it immediately will start a Meet session that I could have someone join in with. And I can invite them or just give them the code and they can join that. These other meetings down below, I'll show you, are ones that I created in Google Calendar. And now they've been added to my Meet scheduled meetings section beneath the ad hoc meeting. So those are my scheduled Google Meets. So when will I use Google Meet as a teacher? First, it could just be used as a virtual teaching tool. So as a teacher, I can use that recording feature that I mentioned, and I could jump into a Meet all by myself. If I'm not comfortable having students in the call, I can start a Google Meet with just myself, hit the record button, and teach a lesson. So I can share my screen, I can demonstrate the things that I wanted to show them, discuss all of the kind of intricate little details that I had in my lesson. And then at the end, when I stop recording, it puts that recording right into Drive. And now I could take that and post it into my Google Classroom. I could send it out in an email. However you want to disseminate that, that recording would be yours. Of course, if you are comfortable having students in the call live, that's also an option. You can invite them into the Meet, teach your lesson. You could still record it for, just having it on hand after the fact, but you could do more of a live teaching example that way. You can also run this as kind of a virtual office hours. So some of the students, I know my daughter's in 4th grade this year, and some of the homework is sadly getting to be a little difficult for me to understand because, the whole Common Core thing, things are taught differently now, whatever. So if I were to have her teacher set up a Google Meet virtual office hours, we could log into a Meet session. My daughter could talk through all those details, or even I could sit with her. We could have a discussion about what's going on, how to work through this content, all virtually using the Google Meet vehicle. You also could invite some guest speakers into your Meet sessions. So if you wanted to, you could send an email invitation with the Meet address out to anybody that you want to have come speak in your school. So if you already had a scheduled speaker coming into the school for this year and you're worried that might be canceled, maybe they'd be willing to join a Meet session and speak with your students that way instead. And with the increased number of participants, up to 250 for this year, you can accommodate some of those guest speakers that way. Another way I've seen Meet used is for students to present information. So especially now with our students being home so much for the foreseeable future, they can still be doing work on a research project or a presentation, and then they can join a Google Meet session and they're able to share their screen and present their information just as if they were presenting in front of the class in person normally. A big one that's come up recently, especially with some of our younger students, is teachers doing a Google Meet read aloud. Some of our kids just emotionally like having the connection with their teacher through this unique situation we're in. And so some teachers are taking advantage of the Google Meet vehicle to just read a book to their students like they normally would in the classroom. And sometimes that's just a really powerful thing for them since they can't see you in person. A couple further ideas. I know a lot of schools do virtual book clubs or, battle of the books or topic studies. This is a way you could still get those students together. I know they've done a lot of work throughout the year already. Maybe they're ready to get to the end of that. And they could still get together. They could still have that discussion, that presentation through the Google Meet platform. The mystery Meet is pretty fun to work with, other classrooms where you could have assigned historical locations, or you could have maybe you're just doing local history and geography, and you want to talk about, let's say, I live in Phoenix, New York. So I want to do a history project about Phoenix. I want to connect with a remote classroom, and we're going to present information about Phoenix without telling that classroom that that's where we are. And then at the end, they get to ask a few questions, and then they have to guess where we're from. And then we switch roles and do it the other way. So that's a really cool way to meet with other classrooms kind of around this region or even around the rest of the country. And I'm going to kind of go down to the last one. Of course, Google Meet is a really powerful tool to network with your colleagues. I know since all of the schools have been closed and everybody's been home, and we've been trying to figure out ways to get people together, tools like WebEx and Google Meet have exploded in their use. So this is a really powerful way for you to be able to meet up with your colleagues or your professional learning network and still learn information, still have that collaborative time, even though you may not be able to be together in person. So let's go out and take a look at what this might look like kind of in practice. So the first thing I want to show you is the Google Calendar piece. So here is my Google Calendar, and I have a bunch of them, so don't mind the hectic craziness that's over on the left-hand side. I'm going to make this full screen so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see. But what I want to point out is you'll see for today, I have a few different things going on across multiple different calendars. So the blue calendar is one of my Google Classrooms. It's Schaefer's Tech Club. And the kind of greenish one is my actual Google account. So for my Google Classroom, I have scheduled, this little icon here tells me that I've set up appointment slots, which I'll show you in a second how to do that. But that's a way that you can have students or parents or anyone really go and sign up for some predetermined time slots that you've put into Google Calendar. So like I said, if you're doing virtual office hours and you don't want to have the whole class connect to one office hour and kind of have that hectic nature that would probably come out of that, you could set up appointment slots and have either small groups of students or individual students sign up for certain time slots that you're making yourself available for. So in this case, I'm available from 12 to 3:30, and I broke it into 30-minute time slots. You could do like 15, 20, whatever you want to break it up in. And you'll see I have 2 sections reserved during this 1 hour because I'm presenting, so I'm not available during this hour. But any other time throughout that, students would be able to register for. And again, I'll show you what that looks like. I also have on my Google Calendar a couple of other individual meetings. And when I click on either of them, you'll notice that it has the Hangouts Meet information right within the event information for me. So I could click right here and it would take me right out and join me right into the Meet session. So that's one way that you can quickly invite students. If they use Google Calendar, you could just invite them to a Google Calendar event, and they could click on the event after it's there and just click Join Hangouts Meet. So let me show you what that looks like. So I'll just put one in for tomorrow. First thing you do is add a title, just like any other Google tool that you're working in. So this is my test event, very creative. Sometimes it defaults to all day, so you might need to uncheck the checkbox that's here. But then you can go ahead and set a specific time frame for your meeting. I'm going to put in that we're meeting over Google Meet instead of at a physical location. And now you see this Add Conferencing dropdown. And if I click on that, it gives me the option to choose Hangouts Meet. And when I select that, it automatically generates this meet.google.com/10-digit alphanumeric code. That for every Google Meet, there's a unique code. And so this is the code that's going to join everybody into your unique Google Meet. The only other thing I want to check here in my settings is which calendar I'm applying this to. So I want to put this into my calendar, but I could, if I wanted to, tie this to one of my classrooms, like Schaefer's Tech Club, but I'm just going to put it right on my calendar. Over on the right side, this is where I could invite guests into the session. So I could, you'll see when you click into that guest box, it automatically brings up a few entries as recommended, but I could go ahead and enter really anybody I wanted to into this. I could even invite my Camden address. Since we have so many Camden folks here today, I'll go ahead and do that. And one thing I do like to check at the bottom is, do I want anybody to be able to invite anyone else? I'm going to say no, because I want to be the only one inviting people into my calendar event in my Hangouts Meet. And then once I click save, I'm not going to send invitations. You'll see now tomorrow I have an event in my calendar. When I click on that, it opens up and it shows me my Hangouts Meet connection information. So I could just click right on this and it would take me right into the meet right now, which I don't really want because it's for tomorrow. Or over to the right here, you see this little icon. This is to copy the information for this call. So now I can copy that. And I'm going to switch gears over to my Google Classroom for a second. So if I want to get that link to my students, or I want to make sure they know that we're having a meet tomorrow, I can go into my classroom and I can make an assignment if I wanted to. So I'm going to go create. I'm going to make, I'll just make a assignment, sure. And I'm going to tell my students, mute me on Google Meet. And I'm going to put in the instructions the connection information. So that's the URL for the meet. I'm going to put a due date, which was tomorrow at, I believe it was 1:30. And now when I assign this, it's going to go into my classwork here and my classwork tab. And it's also going to appear in my stream. So now my students will know I've created a Google Meet and I expect you to join me. And that would be obviously if I'm sending something out class-wide. I wanted to invite all of my students. I've now shared the link with them for them to join me at that time. I'm going to go back to my calendar. Now, let's say I want to set up those appointment slots I was talking about. These ones are a little bit trickier to do Google Meet with because you can't have it generate a Google Meet automatically for each appointment slot, but you can at least have the students sign up for the slots, and then you can either open a generic Google Meet like what I just did that they can all just take turns joining into, or you could generate your own individual Google Meets for each one. Totally up to you how you want to manage that. That's like a classroom management choice that I'll leave up to you. But I did just want to point out that appointment slots doesn't do unique meets for every appointment. So I just want to show you quick. If I select, again, tomorrow, underneath the title of my, I just clicked once on Google Calendar on a date and time. I can just quickly create an event here, or I can select appointment slots. So now it says from tomorrow at 2:30 to, I'll say, 5:30, because I'm way too generous with my students and I'm going to give them my personal time. I'm going to open up appointment slots. I'm going to make these 15 minutes each. And I want this to go into my Schaefer's Tech Club Google Classroom calendar. So if I go ahead and I'm going to call this Meet with Mr. Schaefer. I click save. Now on my Google Calendar, it just looks like I've blocked out a bunch of time. So in my calendar, you see this, 3-hour block. But if I click on it, you'll see I get this go to appointments page for this calendar. Now, if I select that link, it opens up a new view for my calendar, and it shows the available appointment slots during that time frame. So my students, for them, I would take this link from the top of this page and put it into Google Classroom or email it to them, or whatever you're using to communicate with your students. You'll get them this link, and it will bring them to this page. And now they can go ahead and select any of these time frames. Let's say I want to do the 5:15 to 5:30. When I click on it, it holds the name of the event, and in parentheses at the end, it adds whatever the name is for that Google user that's signed in. So in my case, it's my name because I'm signed in, but it would have whoever's name there. They do have the ability to edit this title, so if they want to just totally change it and just put their name in, they could do that, but I'm going to leave it. they could add more information below, like I need to discuss the research paper. And click save. And now when any other students come into this appointment slot link, that slot is no longer available. Now, if I refresh the page, you'll see that it's booked and it shows the name of that person. So they know that it was booked by, so-and-so student. And the nice part about this is no one else can click on this and access this. I don't think, actually, now that I say that, I don't think anyone else will see this. I see it because I'm signed in with my account, but no other students would see that, that time frame there. So that's appointment slots. And like I said, if I wanted to open up Meet now for the appointment slots, I could either generate one Google Meet and just share the link with the students and say, during your time frame, please sign in and then sign out when you're done. Or I could generate individual Google Meet sessions for those 15-minute slots and send them out to my students as well. So you have that option, but that's not something that Google Calendar can automatically do at this time. Maybe in the future, but not right now. So that's how you can create meets with Google Calendar. Now, I do want to just point out quickly, I'm going to switch tabs here. You see we have about 5 minutes left. You can just go to meet.google.com. And, there's this nice picture in the background. This refreshes every few minutes. So, if you're hanging out on this page for a while, you'll see some pretty nice stock photos. Scroll through. But the nice thing about this is any pre-scheduled Google Calendar invites that I have for Meet automatically populate here. So now for me as a user, I can simply just click on this and it takes me out into the meeting. I can select if I want my microphone or my webcam enabled. So I'm going to mute that so it's not coming through and looping. And then I can join the meeting. So this is Google Meet. This is what the interface looks like. Now, as a member of this call, I can mute myself at the bottom. I can leave the call. I can turn my webcam on or off. I can also, one of the accessibility features they have, which actually works pretty well, is the captions along the bottom. So now that this is on, while I'm speaking, it should translate my verbal text into written text. And I think it's behind the gray bar once that disappears here. Never mind. It didn't work because I didn't have my microphone on. So there you go. There's the caption piece. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. I also have the ability to present now. So when I click on this, I can present my entire computer, or I can select a specific window that I want to share. So in my case, I'm going to say I want to share a window, and I want to share out just my Google Calendar window that I have open. So now anyone else in the call that's joined me would only see that I'm sharing my Google Calendar window. And I would have to actually go to that window to see it on my computer, but anyone remotely would only see that. The nice part about just sharing a window for you is you can have things like your email open in the background, and no one would be able to see what's coming into your email or anything like that. The last section of settings I really want to show you is down here, more options. You can change the layout. Here's where you'll find the record meeting option. So if that's turned on in your school, you'll just go ahead and click record meeting. It says, please ask for consent. Just please make everybody know we're going to record this, anybody that's joining you. Again, if you're just teaching a lesson on your own and you're recording it and you don't have anyone else in, you're fine. But I'm going to click accept. It says recording will start soon. And now it plays a little chime and it's now recording. So in the top corner, you'll see the little record icon. And now it's recording everything that's going on. So if I were presenting my screen, when I'm talking, whoever's on screen for the video, all of that's being recorded into a nice video file that can be played after the fact. I'm going to go ahead and stop my recording. And I'm going to leave the call. Actually, two more things before we leave the call. In the top right-hand corner is where you can see who's connected. So this is the list of people connected to the call. If you ever share your screen, you'll actually show up twice. So just keep that in mind. If you see yourself there twice, no one hacked your account, hopefully. It's just because you're sharing your screen, and that actually technically makes you a member of the call twice. And then there is a chat built into the Google Meets. I don't believe there's a way to disable this that I know of. I could be wrong, but there is this chat piece that people could put in a text chat similar to what you're doing with the YouTube video. So let me, the last piece that I didn't go over with the calendar integration is if I click in the bottom left corner when I'm in a meet, again, I can copy all the info to join this meet, but there's also this attachments tab. So as a teacher, if I'm having a Google Meet with my class, when I'm creating a Google Calendar event, I can attach items to that from Drive or from my computer or from YouTube. And if I attach things to the Google Calendar event that I create this meet from, it will also attach them right here in a nice list. So while we're in the meeting, instead of me going out to Drive and finding that file I want to talk about, it's just attached right here, right within the meet itself. So I'm just going to end this call. Again, that recording goes right into your Google Drive, and you can share that however you see fit after the fact. And I think I closed my google.com. So that was my chapter chat. If I wanted to go ahead and join my next meeting, all I'd have to do is click on it and it would open up just like that one did. For your students, this is probably the easiest way for them to get in is either through the Google Calendar events or by going to meet.google.com and having you already create the Google Calendar events ahead of time. They can just come here and click on the event that they want to join here. All right. So one last thing, when I'm in the calendar, I just want to show you quickly where you would add the attachment. So when you're editing your event, right down in the description in the bottom corner, there's an attachment paper clip right in the top of the description box. So if you click on that, again, you can add from Drive, from your shared drives, from your computer. You can do an upload here. So all of those are options here, and you can just add them in. And then I mentioned the YouTube piece. You could just create a quick hyperlink right in the editing bar. There's an insert link and link out to a video there. So that is pretty quickly creating Google Meets. One thing I do want to just quickly share with you is a couple of resources for after the fact. What I'll do is I will share this link for this presentation through my learning plan so that you can all have access to the URL after the fact to get into these resources. But one of them is Google has a team that does just 90-second basic videos about different tools within the G Suite set of tools. And they do have a pretty good one about Hangouts Meet, kind of what it does and how it works. There's also a link here for the G Suite Learning Center, which is like all of their training materials compiled into one website, and it links out to the Google Meet specific resources. And then if you haven't already, you know, on our YouTube channel that you access this session through, there are a host of different webinars we've done, different videos there. Feel free to check all those out. And if you subscribe to the channel, you actually, if you have the app on your phone, you'll get a notification every time we go live, so you'll know whenever we're having another session. The last thing I want to show you guys is my contact info. So again, cschaefer@moric.org is my email. This is my office phone line, but I am working from home, but I do have my office phone available to me on my computer. So I am accessible by that phone number if you're more comfortable calling. And again, moric.org/PD will take you to our calendar for future sessions. And moric.org/video takes you right into the YouTube channel. So feel free to check out any of those resources. And after we wrap up today, like I said, I'll jump into my learning plan and share out my slide deck so you have the links that were in there as well. I'm going to hang out a few more minutes. I'm going to look through the chat over on the side and see kind of if there were any questions that I possibly missed. But if you have any questions now, feel free to add them. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you find the session useful. Thanks so much.